Welcome to this Building Trust in Trying Times webinar. I'm your host, Hannah Stiff, and I'm really excited about this topic that we have for you today. We are talking about grants for your Montana business, and I'm going to introduce our expert speaker in just a minute here, but before I do, I wanted to just touch base about the logistics for this webinar if you are new to our webinar series. So these series of webinars that we're doing, these Building Trust in Trying Times, are hosted for our BBB accredited businesses. And those are businesses who have taken a pledge to uphold our 8 standards of trust, to act with integrity and to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. So these webinars will also be made available on our YouTube channel. So if you want to go back and browse some of the past webinars or revisit this webinar, we will go ahead and drop that link in the chat box for you. So it's accessible and handy. Go ahead and save that somewhere so you can revisit it. And while you are there looking at that chat icon there on your bottom panel, you're also going to be looking for that Q&A button. So take a minute, try to locate that Q&A button. And during the presentation, you are going to have an opportunity to ask those questions. Hopefully they do come up, and please do load those questions into the Q&A box so our expert can address them. At the end of her presentation, we're going to reserve at least 10 minutes, maybe more if we're on a roll. So feel free to not only ask those questions, but upvote the questions that you find most relevant. So if your question's already in there, go ahead and give it an upvote so that we make sure that we can address that question. So I think those are our logistical pieces today. And with that, I want to introduce you to Suzi Berget White. She is the Business Development Director at the Prospera Business Network here in Bozeman, Montana. Suzi is an innovative business leader who serves as the Business Development Director of Prospera. She bases her management, counseling, and teaching style on her real-life applications. She's had a business education with personal experience as a business owner, fundraiser, human resource manager, a public speaker, and a trainer. Suzi has counseled more than 600 female business owners throughout Montana, and this year Suzi and her team have helped Montana businesses secure over $6 million in loans and grants to keep operating during these trying times. So that's what Suzi is here to help us do today. She's going to guide us through the process of getting you the grant dollars that your business needs to keep going in these trying times. So without further ado, Suzi, please take it away for us.
Thank you so much, Hannah. I appreciate it. It's good to see so many familiar faces on here today, and so many new faces too. So like Hannah said, my name is Suzi Berget White. I work for Prospera Business Network. We're an economic development group in Southwest Montana, but we help the entire state. We are here to help in any way that we can. Obviously, today's presentation is brought to you by our good friends at the Better Business Bureau. Those guys are the best to work with, and they really can be a partner in your business. So be sure to reach out to your friends at the BBB if you've got any questions, especially about today's presentation, if you've got anything more beyond the things that I've covered today. I'm putting my contact information right on here just so people can just reach out to me afterwards if you've got specific questions about grants. I'm going to be trying to go into kind of basic details on all these grant programs, but I am happy to send this as a PDF document after today's training so you don't have to frantically take notes. So I'm happy to do that as well, or I'm hoping that my friends at the BBB can follow up and send out a PDF as well. So let's go ahead and get started here. So if you can introduce yourself into the chat box, introduce your first name, your business, and your location. I'm going to try to pick up on all that because there are certain grants that I'm going to cover today that are specifically for rural companies or women-owned companies or disadvantaged business owners or minority owners. So things like that are super helpful. And if you can rename your screen to your first name and the name of your company, that's helpful too, so we know who's all there. And again, go ahead and ask questions, and then Hannah will address them at the end. Again, a quick overview of our program, just so you can kind of understand our credentials. We are an economic development organization that does business loans, no-cost business counseling, business trainings, and help with business development grants. Now, there are lots of other partners in the state that do something very similar. The difference is that we house a program called the Montana Women's Business Center, which is a federal program from the Small Business Administration. So we're well known for that. And actually last year in 2019, we won Women's Business Center of the Year nationally. So we have a very well-known program in the country. And, obviously we help anyone that needs it, but we have a specific program for women business owners specifically. How to find our services, we're prosperamt.org, and we have a ton of trainings going on, and I want to make sure you guys know about these because one of them is the PPP loan forgiveness application. I know some people are starting to think about all that stuff. We also have some really great trainings on customer service, social media, leadership, and we have more than 60 free trainings in the next 3 months through the end of the year that are available for you, in addition to all the trainings that the BBB is offering as well. I also am offering information on this right now to you as well, because this is going to be the start of my presentation on grants that are available. Right now, I know a lot of businesses are trying to pivot, learn some new skills, kind of change their business around a little bit. So I want to make sure that all small business owners know about this grant. It's called the Incumbent Worker Training Grant, and it's through the Department of Labor. If you've got a small business with less than 50 employees statewide that's been in operation for at least 12 months, and I'm going to throw out a caveat here too. Most grants don't start for businesses that are less than 1 year. So I want to make sure that people are aware of it. There are a few, but most grants start at 1 year. So this is a really great grant. So let's say you've got a employee that's been with you, and they need to learn a new skill, and they want to go take a class in person or on Zoom, and it costs money. You can apply for up to $2,000 per full-time employee and $1,000 per part-time employee for the IWT program. So it's a really great program to help keep your staff employed with you, so you can invest in staff development, but then also give them the skills that they need to advance their own skill level for your company. For instance, I did a women's leadership program where I got a certificate at the end of it. That program costed about $3,000. I wrote the grant through the IWT program, and I got about $2,000 of it covered. The other $1,000 my employer needed to help pay for, or I got some other grants for. So that's just one example of a grant that everyone almost on this line can take advantage of. The next grant that I'm going to talk to you guys about is called the Big Sky Trust Fund Grant, and this is called a planning grant. And this is offered through our Department of Commerce here in Montana, so this is specific to our state of Montana. And this is a really awesome grant for any company, again, that's been in business here in Montana that is planning on an expansion program. So this planning grant is a one-to-one match, and it can cover up to $25,000 in architectural or engineering plan fees. Can also help cover feasibility studies. Like let's say you're trying to branch into a new market and you need a feasibility study done, manufacturing systems and equipment plans. It can also help out with film projects, which is kind of interesting. They just added that this last few years. So this is a really great grant. An example here is that Sims Fishing Company. It's a worldwide company, but it's based out of Bozeman. Like we help them get a planning grant. And again, all this information, once you get a grant through a federal entity, know that it's public knowledge. So nothing I'm going to cover today is private information. But like for instance, Sims did an expansion for their manufacturing and their staffing. And so they applied for a planning grant and got a portion of those architectural and engineering costs covered. So again, that is a really awesome program that you can apply for through an economic development group like Prospera, or one that's in your particular neighborhood as well. The next one is the same kind of program. It's called the Montana Big Sky Trust Fund Grant. This one's called a Job Creation Grant. So let's say you're in a high growth industry and more than 50% of your revenues come from out of state. Well, our good friends at the Montana Department of Commerce, they want to reward companies like yours that are growing, they're creating full-time, high-paying jobs here in Montana. And so as you're thinking about expanding and growing in the next 18 months, let's say you're going to hire 10 people. Well, you can apply for this job creation grant and potentially get up to $5,000 as a one-time fee from the Montana Department of Commerce as a thank you, basically, for hiring at these higher paying jobs. So this is an incredible program. I love to mention this because as all of us are business owners on the online right here, we are advocates and we can be helpful to our friends and peers who are also business owners that maybe aren't on this call today. And so this is a great way to say, hey, you're thinking about expanding. Oh, you've got to, pay for architectural and engineering fees. You should apply for this grant. Oh, you're going to have to hire some people and you're going to hire them more than about $21, including benefits. You should apply for the job creation grant. This is a great program and a really great incentive program. We just did one with a local manufacturing company that's a worldwide company. They're hiring 90 jobs in the next 18 months. I can't do the math on that right now, but if you can, you should, because that's a lot of money times $5,000. So for companies, especially that are locating here and they're going to be creating some high paying jobs, it's a really great incentive for them. And here's some other questions or some other checklist examples of what's needed for these job creation grants. Again, this is one that you would work with your economic development partner in your community to help you apply for. Now, the next grant is one of my favorite grants that I personally write a lot of grants for. It's called the Montana Growth Through Agriculture Grant. And this is a really great grant for anybody that's in the ag industry or anyone that is kind of doing this kind of like food to table movement or anything like that. But an example of a client that I helped out get a GTA grant is Dry Hills Distillery. They're a company in Bozeman here, and they grow the potatoes at their farm, and then they basically put it in a bottle. So it's like farm to bottle. And so they got a Grow Through Ag grant to purchase some equipment. So I think it was a peeler, a potato peeler. I can't remember. But anyway, so eligible projects include equipment purchases, construction costs, advertising and promotion, consulting services for engineering, lots of really great things. This one is due December 7th. And again, you can reach out to someone like me who can help you partner on this grant and help you write it, or this is one you can write yourself. But it's a grant for up to $50,000, and they also have low interest loans for up to $100,000. So this is a really great program as well. So if you have any friends in this industry that are trying to do great things for our agricultural here in Montana, they're doing meat processing, bottling, they're doing anything with vegetables, fruits, things like that are here, we'd love to talk to them. The next one I'm going to talk to you about, this one isn't as pretty. I don't have any pretty photos for this one, but this is a USDA RBDG grant, and that is a mouthful. One thing you should know about government agencies is that we're like alphabet soup. There's a million acronyms for programs out there. So RBDG is a really great grant program. Again, this one's specific for communities that have less than 50,000 people living in the community. So depending on the census data, we're still working off old census data here because obviously we're trying to count right now. And by the way, my plug for counting, please turn in your census information. It is more important than ever. It's how Montana gets funding. So that's my soapbox about the census. I love the census. It creates great data for people like me that are just total data nerds. So I love that information. So please fill it out. But anyway, this is for communities that have less than 50,000 people. So let's say you're in Belgrade, Montana versus Bozeman, you would qualify. Bozeman's kind of right on the cusp there. But anyway, you have to have less than $1 million in revenue and less than 50 employees. But again, this can be used for project planning, business counseling, training, market research, feasibility studies, kind of similar stuff to what you're seeing with the Grow Through Ag. But what I do is with a lot of my ag businesses, I'll partner with this one and try to get more of their project funded. But you don't, for the USDA one, you do not need to be an ag-related business. You can be a daycare, you can be a coffee maker, whatever it is that you're doing, this is for everyone. And so this is a really awesome grant too that I want to make sure people mention. There's a scoring sheet with this one. So that's what makes this one a little bit different. As a counselor, I can do this scoring with you to see where your points are coming in, and I can kind of compare it to other people who I've worked with that have won the grant to see if you'd be a strong candidate. So this is one we're working on right now. This one's due March 31st. And again, disclaimer, don't reach out to these partners to help you write these grants like a day before the grant is due. Please reach out now if you see an application deadline in the next 6 months, because it takes some pre-planning, and we want to make sure that your grant is going to be the strongest possible. The next kind of grant or tax credit that I want to talk about, this one is kind of a unique one that a lot of people don't know about. It's called the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, and it's through our good friends at the Department of Labor. But the Work Opportunity Tax Credit is a federal tax credit available to employers to hire individuals from eligible target groups: veterans, low credit, SNAP recipients, people with felonies or disabilities, or any sort of significant barriers to employment. Hiring under this program may reduce your federal income tax liability for as much as $9,600 per employee hired. So this can be a real tax benefit for you. I like to mention this because depending on your industry, this might be the people that you're hiring. And so this might be a total benefit to you. So I do reach out to your local job service. This is our Bozeman job service that you could reach out to Nancy. She's awesome. But you can certainly reach out to your local Department of Labor office or job service office as well. The next one, I'm mentioning this one's Bozeman specific, but almost every kind of high growth town in Montana has these renewal district grants. And so when I'm working with downtown Bozeman businesses, I like to remind them that they've got access to potential some grant money. So this can help with streetscape assistance. So any sort of like upgrades on your building, if you own the building downtown, it can help out with fiber connectivity. Sometimes there's hotel incentives too to be downtown. So more than anything, this is just a plug to check in with your local downtown business association if you have one, or your local chamber if you don't have one, to see if there are any incentive grants specifically to like renewing or making your space look beautiful. Our good friends, I also want to mention our good friends at Northwestern Energy. They have some really great rebate programs as well for kind of streetscaping as well, and putting in energy efficient appliances and windows and things like that. So you may want to check out Northwestern Energy's website as well. I also want to mention, it's hard to tell who's on the line right now, but for those of you that create products here made in Montana, it's important that you know about our good friends, again, at the Department of Commerce, who are doing the International Expansion Grant Program, or the STEP program. This is an awesome program that helps facilitate entrance and expansion in international markets via trade shows, matchmaking. They can help change any sort of marketing materials to a different language if you need to. I was working with a good friend of mine owns a snowboarding binding company here in Bozeman. It's called Spark R&D, and they have taken advantage of this program to go to international ski shows in Germany and Japan and things like that, where they get assistance to go to these international trade shows and talk about this awesome made in Montana, snowboard binding that only is made here. So it's a really great way. It's some additional travel stipends. Occasionally there's some money for some domestic trade shows as well. It's just worth giving a call to my good friends at the Department of Commerce just to see how they can help you. But I like to at least mention that. I also want to do a plug for the Montana Women's Business Center. We have our own grant program that we've created. And so this is open for any Montana women business owners. Again, you have to have been in business for 1 year or more. We just gave away about $20,000 a few months ago for this grant program. And again, this will become available on January 1st. But you can look up our website. It's at prosperamt.org. And we give away up to $10,000 for women business owners to take their business to the next level. So depending on the level, we had a $2,500 level, $5,000 and $10,000 level. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do it this next year, but you can apply for various funds. Like we last year we gave money to Windrift Hill. They wanted to expand their production for their awesome lotions. And now I think they got a reverse osmosis water system so they can expand their manufacturing to get into the Canadian market. We also gave some money to a photonics company called Agile Focus. We gave money to Black Dog Farm, which is a company in Livingston that wanted to do chicken or poultry processing and expand that services. So a lot of cool companies out there. I think if our friend from Dirt Rich is on the line right now, I saw that she may be registered for this. She was in that Impact Grant pitch competition. It's a fun event, and we'd love to have applications. So tell all your friends, okay? I also want to, those are kind of just grants that are happening all the time, no matter if we're in coronavirus times or not. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about some current relief options that are still available to business owners. So the first one obviously is the EIDL loan, EIDL loan. If you have not applied for this, this is a grant and loan, but you can certainly turn down the loan portion of it. So you can apply at sba.gov, and it's a really super easy online application. I actually have a video on step-by-step what to put where on your application at prosperamt.org. If you're struggling with the application, we've got a step-by-step guide for you. But anyway, that is still open, and you can apply for the EIDL advance, which would give you up to $1,000 per full-time employee that you have, and that would be a grant to you. And then there's also a loan option. And I really have been kind of encouraging people to really look at those loan options and be able to use that money to not only pay off any debts or vendors, to make sure that our economy stays intact, but also take advantage of some opportunities. Maybe this is your time to upgrade your marketing. A lot of people are buying online. Maybe it's your time to upgrade some things with your business and get some new machinery to be more competitive in the market. So if you have got questions about what you should do, or obviously I won't tell you what to do, but to talk through those options, we're here to help, and so are other economic development partners in the state. I want to make sure people know that that money is still available. The next one is through the Montana Arts Council. So if you or any of your friends are, employed in the art industry, know that there's some money where you can get up to $2,500 as a professional artist. So especially if you've been impacted by art shows or art show cancellations or things like that, this is a really great grant. It's super easy to apply for. Here's the link for it. I also want to quickly go over these other grant options. There's a live entertainment grant program. So for instance, if you have a bar or a restaurant, or you're in the live entertainment business, know that there are some options for you here. Wedding venues do not count under this one. I've gotten a lot of questions about that, but know that there's a lot of fine print on this particular one. So check out the commercemt.gov website, and they'll have more options for you. The next one is an updated grant through the Montana Business Stabilization Program. If you had any sort of downturn in your funding at all this year, this is a really great one, and it was expanded, and this particular grant was updated recently. You can get up to $20,000 for your business. So definitely worth looking at, especially if you had a downturn in your business. I definitely recommend everyone applying for it if it's the right fit and you definitely can show a loss. The next one is a loan deferment program. Obviously, this one is a long, there's a lot of fine print on this one, but know that there might be some options for you to be able to defer some of your payments. The next one is really quickly, this one's for the east edge of Glacier National Park, tourism business grant. Obviously, if you're not in that area, don't worry about it, but I just want to make sure people know about it. This new one is the Montana Business Adaptability Grant. This one was updated recently as well. And this one is a refund or reimbursement grant. So let's say you needed to get Zoom, or you needed to you needed to do, have cleaning supplies. You need to have any sort of equipment for you to make sure that your staff is working offline, things like that. Those are all eligible expenses, but you need to prove that you've spent the money. So you'll need to upload some receipts. And so that's a really awesome grant as well. A couple other ones I just want to make sure people know about: the Emergency Housing Assistance Program. This has been a very big grant for Montana people who need help in mortgage payments, rent, things like that. So know that they're available to help. The next one is this is through the Department of Public Health and Human Services. It's supporting Montana's families, school-aged children. So this one is great for providing any school time programs. So if you have any sort of school that's local, or daycare or something like that, and they're providing care, they could be eligible for this grant. Obviously, we have some behavioral health grants. Obviously, we really want to make sure that mental health is being taken care of here in Montana. So there have been some grants for some organizations that are creating some kind of mental health avenues and things like that for support and care. Then also this last one here is the Stay Connected grants. This can help anyone that's disabled, elderly, anybody like that, senior centers, but helping them basically get access to technology to be able to, work or connect and just stay connected. The last grants here are the social services nonprofit grants. If you're a nonprofit, know that you can apply for this grant. Most likely you'll qualify. So that's a really awesome grant for up to $10,000. And then there's the telework assistance grant. So again, that's for people with disabilities to get telework equipment. Couple last things here. Actually, I'm going to take that. That was a duplicate. So sorry. Taking that one off. And then I also want to just quickly mention, I've got a lot of businesses right now that are really trying to be competitive in the state market and the federal and national markets. So I do want to mention that your partners at economic development organizations, they can help you get certified depending on your business. For instance, I saw that there was an asphalt company registered for today. The U.S. Department of Transportation, they have a really great disadvantaged business enterprise program, which provides a vehicle for increasing participation from minority and women-owned businesses. So it helps you become certified with the Department of Transportation. So when you're bidding on those jobs, there's a good chance you'll be able to kind of rise above the competition. So that's a really great certification. Then there's also the women-owned small business certification as well through the Small Business Administration. And there's about 5 other ones too. Know that if you ever want to be competing in the government bidding process or federal or state or city bidding processes, know that it might be helpful for you to get certifications. I don't think that certifications are right for everyone, but depending on your business, this might be the right fit for you. It's kind of like getting another stamp of approval like the BBB. It's another organization, you're committing to their beliefs, things like that. So that might be the right fit for you. More than anything, I just want to share with you, we're here to help. We're an organization that's been offering thousands of hours of counseling. We have free trainings. We're helping to create jobs. We're training people. We're getting people loans and grants. And there are lots of partners throughout the state and especially your friends at the BBB that are here to help support you. So do not be worried about where you are. Know that you have support and people are here to help and support you. Now we can go ahead and turn it over to questions and answers here. Go ahead, Hannah.
I want to remind everybody who is on with us today to please take your questions, go ahead and put it in that Q&A box for us. We're going to get to them. We've got a couple of logistical questions just kind of to kick us off here, Suzi. So when we're thinking about applying for these loans, what kinds of documents should business owners gather together, and what kind of time expectations could they expect to spend actually filling out this application? And then just a little tiny follow-up to that, how long does it take to get the money?
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Great question. So grants, they're free money essentially, but nothing's really free. They do take time. They usually take some paperwork. You usually have to do some follow-up reports, submit receipts, things like that. So obviously when you sign up for it, it's not like, oh, this is going to be free money and I'm never going to have to do anything again. That's not the case in any of these things. With all of them, they're going to take some paperwork, they're going to take some time, and they're going to take one person at your company being passionate about that particular grant. So I call it slow money. It's not fast money, and it's usually a reward. I always say that a lot of people are like, well, I need money to start a business. And like I said, most grants don't really start at the startup stage. But then also I've got a lot of people that just want to save their business with grants. That's not going to be the case in all of these. Again, it's slow money. And so you should, again, a lot of the people who end up winning these grants are the people that are high growth companies or companies that are doing something innovative or cool or creating jobs or really passionate about what's happening here in Montana. So know that your passion comes through on these grant applications. And so know that when you're reaching out to your economic development partner, know that you should tell your story and really show your enthusiasm for what you're doing and not reach out just saying, I need a grant to save my business, because the money will not come quick enough for you. It's just grants are slow money for sure. So I would say that a lot of these grants I had deadlines on. And so if you see any grant in here that you want to apply for, definitely reach out to me or an economic development partner right away, because I'm already working on grants with clients for that USDA RBDG grant that's in March. And I'm already like 3 or 4 clients in on the Growth Through Ag grants, and that's not due until December. So They all take a long time. And if you work with an economic development partner like us, I'm working on that grant with you, but then sometimes I'll hire a copy editor to help us make sure that we're going to win the grant and make sure that we're going to be a step above the competition.
Great, Susie. Thank you. And as businesses get ready to hopefully pick up the phone and give you guys at Prospera a call to get the ball rolling on this loan, remind us what documents are important to gather to start wrapping our minds around here.
Yes. So obviously the first thing that we want to make sure that you have is your financials. So having QuickBooks files or whatever system that you use, know that when it just comes in like a spreadsheet and there's really no basis behind your financials, that's very hard for us. With most of these grants, you have to show projections. So you need to be able to look and see what you currently are at. So be able to look at those profit and loss statements and balance sheets and be able to project out. So that's a real process that we work on with the client, but know that we're going to have to make sure that you have a real accounting system set up. So number one, financials. Number two, with almost all these grants, you need to have filed with the Secretary of State. So know that you need to have that. We all get that email, and you need to file with the Secretary of State and renew your membership with the state. Make sure that you're up to date. And because you won't be able to get any of these grants without it. And then I would say the third thing is just having a real clear idea of a couple bullet points of what you want to do with the money and how many jobs you're going to be creating and what it's going to do for the economy. So sometimes we look at like, if we give money to you, what is the community impact? How does that impact the jobs and your economy locally? So be sure to have a clear vision of that as well.
Great. That's wonderful. Thank you, Susie. We've got a couple questions here popping up in the box down below. Please keep submitting those, folks. From Jeff Moore, we've got, do you know if the adaptability grant is available for nonprofits, Susie?
Jeff, good to hear from you, my friend. So with the adaptability grant, I need to peek at that again, but you should be able to qualify on that one.
Great. And we've got another question here. Does the women-owned grants require majority ownership in a corp? Tammy asks us.
Can you say that one more time? In a what?
In a corp. I'm guessing corporation.
Oh, in a corporation. Yes, thank you. So at least with our personal grant, the Montana Women's Business Center Impact Grant, you have to be 51% ownership, and it has to you have to be the one calling the shots. You have to be the person that's truly in charge of the business. And so, you know, because sometimes, unfortunately, people take advantage of these kind of certifications that kind of say that they're women-owned, but really they're not women-owned. So no, with our particular grant, it has to be very clear that you are the owner of that business and calling the shots. We know a lot of people own the businesses with their husbands and things like that, or partners, but we want to make sure that it's truly your business and truly your idea.
That's great. Another question here, Susie. I know for business owners that have visited the Montana Department of Commerce website, it seems like some grants are showing up, some things are disappearing. We've gotten questions about where is this money coming from for these grants. So for the CARES Act money and some of the grants there, can you explain a little bit more where that money is coming from and why exactly it's coming to Montanans?
Yeah, that's a great question. And kind of a scary question, honestly, when you think about it, because it's a lot of money, right? And I am encouraging people to be, to be very cautious when they're applying, because know that, it's not like there's just like this money that's never going to run out. If you truly were not affected by the coronavirus, please don't apply for these grants. Save that money for businesses that could use a little bit more help and that they truly are trying to pivot, or they're, an industry that's really been affected in the last 6 months. But a lot of the money is coming from federal programs that were given to each state in the United States. So a lot of the money is coming from federal programs right now. But I am seeing some state funding going into some of these programs, because, for instance, we just did. There was a grant on there that was for meat processing, and we were only going to give away $2 million in funding, and in the end, I think they ended up giving away like 5 to 8 million. I can't remember what the exact was, but I know that they were coming from some other different pots of money for that one too, to make sure that we were going to be taken care of here in Montana for meat processing. So know that, please be selective. I mean, these are great opportunities, but I don't want people to take advantage of them either. I just want to make sure people are educated and know what their options are.
Wonderful. And Susie, is there a grant still available for businesses that are having to spend extra money to purchase PPE equipment, that personal protective equipment in their business? Is that something that's still available?
Yes, that's the adaptability grant that Jeff was talking about, and that is the reimbursement grant. So you have to prove that you've spent the money on it. And I even have interesting companies that are like, I work with a film company and they're going down to Chile to do some filming and they need to be in quarantine for 2 weeks before they can start filming. That could even be covered under that adaptability grant, that reimbursement grant. So there's some really interesting things that I'm seeing that are getting approved. I'm not promising that those things are going to get approved, but I have seen some interesting things get approved with that adaptability reimbursement.
Wonderful. So that money is still available, urging folks to apply. Of course, they can apply if they go to the Department of Commerce website. Is that correct, Susie?
Absolutely. Yep.
But for folks who might want a little bit more clarification or just, a warm hand to hold along this process, talk to us a little bit about business owners are getting their financials together. They're getting ready to apply for some of these grants. What does it look like when they get a hold of you, Susie, and they start that consultation process to apply for these grants and loans?
Absolutely. No, I can't speak for all the other economic development partners in the state. There's, about 15 other organizations that do what we do. But what I would say is that, you obviously want to reach out to your organization, your local organization, and, set up an appointment with a business counselor there and see what they need and what they can do to help. Now, a lot of organizations are busy like us. We've been, I'm counseling anywhere from 10 to 15 businesses a day. So I'm personally booked out for a month, but maybe some of my peers aren't. So it's important kind of reaching out, seeing what availability is. Some of these things are time sensitive. Sometimes they are not. So I bet that organization will kind of triage on like who needs to get in before different deadlines. But I would say that we would definitely get someone registered in our system, get an appointment on the calendar, a Zoom or a phone call set up. We personally aren't meeting in person with clients right now. And then from there, we would assist you in applying for the grant. We do not write in those COVID related ones, at least. We don't turn in anything for you. It's your obligation to get them done, but we're happy to look at your materials and give you feedback. But we will not write it for you. There are a couple grants that we are the partner on the grant. We actually write the grant with you, and then it's submitted through Prospera. And those are like the Big Sky Trust Fund grants, USDA grants. But all the other cases, it's your name on those particular grants. So you're going to be held liable for, any sort of grant reporting or receipts or anything like that.
Okay, that's good to know. Susie, it looks like we've got another question that's come in here from Buffy. Are there any grants for outpatient medical clinics or imaging centers? Does it benefit if it is 100% woman-owned and operated?
So depending on for those grants for the outpatient things, sorry, I'm trying to quickly remember all that from you, Hannah. But no, being women-owned doesn't matter typically in cases like that. Women-owned is only like it's the biggest. I would say the biggest advantage it is when you're applying for or you're competing against business for government contracting. That's where that women-owned certification really comes into play. For grants, the only grant in the state that's just for women is ours. And so that's going to be the only other grant where it might be affected. But other than that, being women-owned it doesn't really truly matter. Just again, when you're competing against other businesses and things like that. But talk to me a little bit more about the outpatient portion. So there is that one grant through the Montana Department of Commerce. It's the behavioral health grant. So you might want to look under the Department of Commerce's website. These were just small blips that I included in my presentation today, but there's actually a full page of details on there. So I would look on there and see if you qualify for that.
That's good advice. We have here in our chat box, will the recording be available to watch again? Yes, all of these recordings and our other expert series in these webinars, they are all available on our BBB YouTube channel. And I really encourage everyone who's here today to go back and look at that library because we've made a commitment since this pandemic started to walking our partner businesses, our accredited businesses through the process of getting money if you have been impacted by COVID. So those webinars are available, lots of other expert topics, and Suzi has actually joined us before to speak about EIDL and PPP. So if you need a refresher on any of that, please do go to that YouTube channel and check out the library there. If there are any more questions here, put them in the Q&A for us. Suzi, what haven't we talked about that these businesses on the line need to know about today?
Yeah, I would just say more than anything, as business owners and nonprofit partners, I think it's important just to be educated and know what's out there. You never know when you're just having a beer with a friend and something comes up, and you can kind of help save the day just by being here today on this BBB webinar and just knowing what's available, especially some of those grants that are available all year round, like the Incumbent Worker Training Grant ones. I use that $2,000 every year to work on my own development for my staff members, developments, things like that. I want them to take advantage of that money because that's a great way for my company to look good. It keeps my employees retained, and then I'm investing in my employees and giving them the time to take those classes. So great program for any small business with less than 50 employees. There's just lots of really great grant programs that we have here in Montana, and we're so lucky to have a government here that is really focused on business and business retention and attraction and keeping people employed here with high paying jobs. So I'm really happy that we're here. It's such a collaborative state. And so we're really lucky to have resources like this.
Absolutely. Suzi, thank you so much for speaking with us today, speaking with our wonderful Montana business owners. We have told you where to find all of these other topics. You know where to get a hold of us at the Better Business Bureau. We have also dropped into the chat Prospera's URL, so you can get a hold of Suzi and her really talented colleagues. That web address is prosperamt.org. And with that, we will say goodbye for today. Thanks everyone for joining us.